Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Wednesday. All of our guests today, including J-Pat, brought to you by the Alberni Power and Marine RPM Group, located in Port Alberni. Alberni Power and Marine is one of Vancouver Island's most trusted boat dealerships. Can I make a mistake here without you laughing your head off?
He loves it when we do that.
The largest Mercury Marine dealership in Canada. Their service team just won for a fourth straight year a CSI score above the national average. It's hard to do. Make your appointment for the 2022 boating season at albernipowermarine.com. As we're joined by Jeff Paterson the day after we find out the Canucks have officially been eliminated from playoff contention, despite the 5-2 win over the Kraken of Seattle. Jeff, thanks for doing this. How are you?
Donnie, I was doing well up until about an hour ago when I heard about Farhan and the unfortunate, adventures in Vegas. If a guy can't find good nachos in Vegas, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And forget the fact that he's covering the NFL draft in Las Vegas on the company dime. Like, I feel for the guy, and I was thinking that maybe you guys could devote tomorrow's show to a telethon to raise enough money so that Farhan can find better food. Because it's my understanding that there are better food options in Vegas. Yeah. You just have to scratch a little bit below the surface. But I'm feeling for the guy.
And as longtime fans of this show will know, you can often find good food in hotel hallways.
In Vegas, yes.
Yeah. Should Canuck fans be angry or encouraged, sad? What word are you going to use, Jeff, to describe how Canuck fans should be feeling?
Well, I think ultimately it's disappointing. I know the old regime promised the playoffs, and the moves that they made last offseason were all designed to get this team to the playoffs. And let's be honest here, they were in the bubble in 2020, but they were invited to an expanded tournament that year. This team has not qualified for the Stanley Cup playoffs in 7 years. In fact, this past weekend was the 7-year anniversary of the last playoff game at Rogers Arena. Of course, the bubble was all in Edmonton. So kind of mind-boggling when you think about it, that it's been 7 long years without a single playoff game at Rogers Arena, and that has to change, and it has to change in a hurry, and hopefully it changes as soon as next season, but we know that there's a lot of heavy lifting to be done here in the offseason. So I think my overarching sort of sentiment towards this season is, while JT Miller put up an incredible individual performance, one of the best offensive seasons ever in the history of the franchise, Quinn Hughes breaking records as a defenseman and really just getting started, and Thatcher Demko with all-star caliber goaltending, 330 goal scores. There were some great storylines. Bruce, there it is, obviously, but through all of that, they're still on the outside looking in. And so all that Bruce Boudreau did to breathe new life into this organization, it was done just to scratch and claw into the final week to get above the playoff bar. This is supposed to be about building a championship contender and a team that's going to have a legitimate window to get their hands on the Stanley Cup. So I think, that my timeline, like I get a sense that there's still frustration. People were excited that this run here, these final 55 games, were on the backs of those star players that I mentioned, and that is encouraging going into next season. But ultimately, this is a town that is starved for playoff hockey, and it's just been way too long now.
Does Spencer Martin look like a National Hockey League goaltender, or at the very least an NHL backup?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a good news story for this organization, both at the NHL level and certainly all year down in Abbotsford as well. And quite frankly, I didn't know much about him when they acquired him. Kind of thought he was just a spare part. Maybe they wanted a little bit of goaltending depth at the AHL level. And I love a good story. And this guy looks like he's a late bloomer. And what I like about it is that, the stage certainly hasn't looked too big for him. He got thrust into his Canuck debut back in January under some strange circumstances with the 2 starters in COVID protocol. And the detractors may say, oh, well, he beat a crappy Seattle team last night. But guess what? He's also he earned a single point against the Florida Panthers, the highest scoring team in the National Hockey League back in January. And, he faced 53 shots, including 9 in overtime from the Edmonton Oilers, who ended up beating the Canucks 3-2 in OT in January. But again, he didn't look like he was nervous or fazed by the situation. And so he's got his contract now. I think he is in the plans for next season. And look, the Canucks are going to need to spell off Thatcher Demko. I think that much is apparent now. 64 appearances, 61 starts. It's too many on the West Coast with all the travel and back to an 82-game season. So they've got to find that sweet spot for Thatcher Demko. But beyond that, they need a backup goaltender. In my mind, your starter, you need about 35 wins from your starter. That gets you 70 points. If you can get 10 more wins from your backup, there's an additional 20 points. That gets you to 90. You're going to have a couple of shootout and overtime losses. That's kind of my simple math to make the playoffs in the National Hockey League. Thatcher Demko looks like a guy that can deliver 35-plus wins. The question is, can they get 10 victories out of a guy like Spencer Martin? And, the early signs are that this guy is able not just to play, but to deliver results. I mean, they picked up points in all 4 of the games that he has played between the pipes this season. So I think that's a step in the right direction. And, you're going to need to shave some salary here and there. And if you can get a legitimate backup, but close to the league minimum for next season, and really maybe the next couple of seasons, then Spencer Martin could very well fit the bill for this hockey club.
Jeff, this guy's name came up at the trading deadline quite a bit. There was even suggestions the Canucks might be willing to move him. But Connor Garland, 3 more assists last night. He's hit the 50-point mark. He doesn't get a ton of power play time. 5-on-5, he's second on the team in points. I mean, this guy's been bringing it, and especially the last few weeks. Your thoughts on his play this year?
Rick, it's funny. I was underwhelmed all season with the goal total, and I guess I got hung up on the goal total itself. And then he had that 19-game drought where he didn't put a puck in the net, and I thought, come on, you're getting paid $5 million now to score goals. I figured 25 was sort of the number I had in mind. He's at 18 now, and so but he's at 50 points. How can you be disappointed? 50 points, 47 of them at an even strength. There are 3 players in the league that have 50 points with only 3 or fewer on the power play, and he is one of them. So he's in pretty unique and select company in that regard. The spins, and he's such a unique player. And you're right, he's been really productive here down the stretch. He's got 14 points in his last 11 games at a time when Horvat went out of the lineup and Pearson went out of the lineup and Höglander had been out of the lineup for a little while now. They needed somebody other than JT Miller and Elias Paterson to step up, and Connor Garland has done that. I love the goal in Calgary of the night, the slide to the back post and then bunting the puck out of the midair. Everything he does is a little bit different. It's unique, but he's kind of had to craft his own way to rise above and get to the National Hockey League at his size. So I've come around on, maybe the goal total, if he doesn't get to 20, that's a little bit underwhelming. But 50 points, I think it's pretty impossible to argue with that. And the hustle and the effort level and the energy and the buy-in that the fans have in this guy. So, look, I don't think they're bringing this team back intact. They missed the playoffs. Rutherford and Alvin were brought in to affect some change. So I can't sit here and tell you that Connor Garland is going to be back next year. But I just have a feeling that the transition from a non-hockey market to a hockey market like Vancouver, 2 coaches, the team struggle early on. I think to get this year under his belt, if he comes back next year, I would expect that he'll be at this level or better in terms of his offensive production. And I still think that 20 to 25 goals, not out of the question for Connor Garland for the next couple of seasons.
And very, very quickly, Jeff, going back to goaltending, NHL players poll, not a lot of respect for Thatcher Demko, more for the likes of Jonathan Quick and Carey Price. Can you understand why?
Well, was there even a peep about Vancouver in that poll anywhere?
No,
Nothing. Or any players?
Nothing, no.
That surprises me a little bit when you look at Quinn Hughes and Elias Peterson and some of the others. And Thatcher Demko, Donnie, mid-season, there was a lot of talk in this market about people will be downright pissed off if he doesn't, get Vezina votes. The problem there is that there are so many other good goaltenders that it's not a knock or a slight on Thatcher Demko if he doesn't get Vezina votes. I think Canuck fans just have to look at this guy in the first year of a 5-year deal, the value that the team extracted out of his level of goaltending. Again, they've just got to find his sweet spot for the games played. I think that he is working his way into those types of conversations. How can the rest of the league, his peer group, how can they not take notice of what Thatcher Demko has done and meant for the Vancouver Canucks this season?
Thank you, Jeff, for this lifetime supply of cheese sauce. It's coming your way. Thanks, J. Pat.
It's lunchtime. Let's go.
Perfect.
Get going. Going.
Thanks, Jeff. Talk to you next week. Jeff Paterson from Sekeres and Price, Canucks and Kings tomorrow.